Hi there, my lovely writing friends. If you're watching this, there's a good chance you've had a story in your heart, maybe even half written on your hard drive, and you're wondering why it's still not finished. Firstly, you're not alone. Whether you're a brand new writer or somebody who's penned several books before, there are common hurdles that can stop even the most passionate of writers in their tracks. And today we're going to talk about the 5 most common reasons your book might still be unfinished, and more importantly, how to overcome each one. The world needs your story, my friends, so let's figure out how we can get yours finished. The most common reason is I just don't have the time. You have a busy life, jobs, kids, caring for others, errands, everything. You get up in the morning with good intentions, and by the end of the day, you're too knackered to do anything else. I know I am one of the really fortunate people in that I am a full-time author. And my kids have all grown and left home. So aside from the odd grandchild duty, most of the time, my day is my own. Yeah. I lost my marriage not long after I published my first book, and there's probably a reason for that. But let's just say my time's my own and I can enjoy what I do. But you won't have a life like that, and you don't have to live a life in isolation like I do to get your book finished. I have spoken about this so many times, about snatching small amount of time, whether it's 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, just 15 minutes a day. It doesn't matter how long that time period is, but get something down. Write a paragraph, just a few lines of dialogue, revise a scene. Use a timer, for example, and write in short sprints. Now, I do that when I don't feel like writing. In fact, I think last year I used to have a channel called Lisa Writes. When that's what I used to do, I used to put the timer up on the screen. I would show off my work in progress as I was typing it, and I would record it and put those videos up on YouTube as a way. Like, I don't think barely anybody watched them, but they were an excellent way for me to push me into writing the stories, my stories. And sometimes, those timers might only be for 15 minutes. In fact, I did a 5-minute challenge there for a while. Unfortunately, those videos are no longer available. But if you're ever interested in me doing them again, definitely let me know in the comments below. But timers are an excellent way for you to get some words down in a short amount of time. Treat your writing like any other important appointment, non-negotiable, and you schedule them in advance. If you add them into your calendar every day, those words will rack up and your story will get finished. You do have the time. We all have the same number of hours in a day. So it's not so much a question of time, it's a question of priorities. You want to get your book finished, so prioritize, even if it's just 15 minutes a day, and make it happen. Now, the second thing, which is also far more common than you would think, is getting stuck in the middle of your story. There is a term for this amongst author circles. It's called the murky middle, or mucky middle, or whatever you want to call it, middle. But it happens so often. And in fact, with most authors, I would think. You start strong when you start your book. You're excited and you've got scenes in your head and you're all ready and gung-ho and you get on with it. And you know what the climax is going to be. But there is always that bit in the middle. And you start to get a bit downhearted. Everything feels a bit slow. It might even feel boring. This does not mean your story is broken. It means you need to reconnect with your characters and the plot. So here's what you can do about that. You could ask yourself or your character, if you're the type of person that talks to your characters like I do, ask your darn characters, like, what do they want? What's standing in their way? Raise the stakes can increase that excitement in the middle of your story. If you really can't do that, if you've already planned your story out, but those middle scenes just seem so ploddy, and you are just not in the mood, then skip ahead and write one of the scenes you are excited about. That is another way of reconnecting with your characters. It's by writing those exciting scenes. Then you can just go back and fill in the other bits in the middle. If you are a pantser like me, you could, if you were getting stuck, then just write yourself a one-sentence summary of the next lot of chapters, just to give you a bit of guidance. You can change it later, but it does give you a roadmap, and seeing that gives you a bit more purpose for why you need to do these boring bits. The middle part of your book is where your readers see your characters under fire, under challenge, under stress. So they, write that, add in subplot lines, do something else to boost the stakes, which makes it easier for you to write. Now, reason number 3, it could be that you've fallen out of love with your story, or maybe that's just how you feel. It doesn't mean your story's not worth finishing. It means that you yourself are not as passionate about it anymore. It does. It's a really hard thing because all of us are different, but there was a reason what made you excited about the story in the first place. So can you go back to that? Was it a character, a scene, a theme? Did you have a mood board? What was going on? Why did you get stimulated or urged to write the story in the first place? Another idea is to go back to the beginning and read some of your chapters out loud. Now, hearing your words, I know it sounds like a klutzy thing to do, but just, go shut yourself in the bathroom and just do it. Because hearing your words, it might help you. It's another sense. You're invoking another sense, and that can help you to fall back in love with your stories and the tone and your style of writing. And then again, if you do that, and then you're still thinking, well, George is still a bore in my story, then, excuse me, you're the author. Tweak it. Change your character's goal. Give them a fatal flaw, not a fatal flaw, because we still want them to get to the end, but maybe you don't. Maybe you write horror, in which case kill off the boring character and keep going with the ones you've got left. Whatever it is, you are the author. You are in control of this story. So guide your characters the way you want them to go. And if they start to seem boring on the page, I don't know, give them something wrong with them or something. Inject some fun back into your process. Okay, that's what you want to do. You want to fall in love with your characters again. That will reignite your enthusiasm to get that story finished. Now, I have done a video on reason number 4, which was the fear of being read, of having your story read at all. You are afraid of people reading your work, so you procrastinate, you make up excuses, you just, you go back and tweak things rather than writing new stuff. And that is really, really common, and that fear is really normal. And I have done a video, a previous video on Write the Book No One Will Read. I will try and remember to link that in the description below, but go back and find it because it would have only been 3 or 4 weeks ago probably, and have a look for that one, because I think that would really help with your fear of being read. Basically, yeah, don't let it happen. Just write the book as if nobody was going to read it. You'd actually be amazing how empowering that side of things is. But finally, reason number 5 is that we've all done it. Have you ever read this amazing book and you look at your manuscript and you just think, that person's words danced off the page. They made me feel, they made me cry, they made me laugh. And then I wrote this. I do it all the time. Don't compare, okay? You see, the thing is, comparing your first draft to someone else's finished, professionally edited book, firstly, is like comparing the raw ingredients that you have to the wedding cake somebody else has made. Don't do it. Every writer you have has got a messy first draft. Even me. They have self-doubt. That's me. And moments they want to quit. That's me too. You are not writing your book to sound like somebody else. You are not writing your book to be like someone else. You are writing your book in your own voice and your own style, and the way you see the world, the way you write your emotions, the way you pace your stories, and the humor that you inject into it. Your story is the one that is important. And if you need a little added extra, maybe imagine one day that your favorite author that at the moment you're comparing yourself unfavorably to may read your book one day, and because they're an author, they'll probably turn around and think, I wish I could write like that. Because that's what happens. We all do it. See, the thing is I've talked before on this channel about that finishing a book is a lot to do with dedication, discipline, passion and emotion, and all those sorts of things. But life happens. But if you've got time restraints, break your writing into smaller chunks, but prioritize the appointments you make with yourself to do it. If you're stuck in the middle, change things up a bit, add in a subplot, do something else to make that middle bit of the book interesting to you and your reader. If you've lost your excitement in your story, go back and reread those first chapters and remind yourself what was so exciting about that story in the first place. If you have a fear of being read, then write that story for yourself. You will have no idea how wonderful it is to feel when you have got a book finished. So just write for yourself and get those words done. And finally, remember, when it comes to comparison, no one else can write your story the way you intended. So if you do find that you've been taking an inordinately long time to finish a book, and you're starting to realize that you're stuck, think to yourself, I'm not stuck. I've just had a bit of a pause. And then go ahead and write a few lines today and a few more lines tomorrow, and keep writing until you have finished your book. And here's one tip. Well, it's not actually a tip, but as I'm not monetized, I don't have to worry about YouTube shutting me down for saying it. But there was a case with one of my books. It's called When No Doesn't Cut It. It was only my third ever book that I've ever written. I really love the characters. But because I'm a pantser, I just waded into the story. And I think I think it is the second longest book I have in my whole catalogue, in my whole backlist. And it was the third one I'd written. And I think I'd gotten to about 90,000 words or something, and probably more. And I was like, I write romances. So I was waiting for my two characters to say, I love you, because that to me was what happened in a romance story. But my characters were really stubborn. And one of them in particular just would not do it. And I was talking about it to a friend one day. And he said, if you get really stuck, he said, pull out a gun and shoot one of the characters. And I was like, okay. So at an alpha challenge, I had somebody do exactly that. They pulled out a gun and they shot the alpha mate, the one who was waiting for his mate to tell him that he loved him. Fortunately, he has a very hard head and the bullet only grazed his skull, plus which there was a magic user there to save him. I'm not killing off my characters, and I never kill off my main characters. I did once, but it had a really good reason. But anyway, normally I don't. And but that was the stimulus that my arrogant alpha needed to realize that he was in love with his mate. So there we go. It did work. And yeah, that book was a little over 100,000 words. But it got that sod to say those words, and I couldn't have done it otherwise. I'm not suggesting for a second that maybe you do something quite so drastic with your own stories, but you can. If you're desperately stuck in the middle or you just cannot finish, then do something completely radical, totally out of character for one of your characters. Just do something totally ridiculous. Put it on the page, throw it like a bomb in the middle of your page and see what happens. It really is a lot of fun. And that is what your writing is meant to be, a lot of fun. So hopefully some of these things might have helped you realize that you've probably procrastinated on your novel just a bit too long, and you'll get it finished. Anyway, I have now reached the rambling stage, so I'll close off now. I make long form videos on Mondays and Thursdays, and I am always open to questions, comments, and everything else. Did you like it? Yay! Please give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, yay! Give me a thumbs down. It doesn't matter. YouTube still counts it as a reaction. If I've said something wrong, throw them in the comments as well. And if you've got suggestions on how you get past that finish, get to that point of finishing the book, or maybe you've got an issue why you can't finish that I haven't suggested, drop that in the comments too, because I promise you I'll try and help. It's what I do here on this channel. So yeah, please keep writing, my lovely friends. And until next week, we will catch up with you then. Bye.